Every financial crisis leaves behind a single persistent question. Why did no one stop it? After the damage is done, the signs always seem obvious. The excess is clear. The warnings feel loud in hindsight. The failures appear inevitable. And yet, when the system was still intact, when intervention was still possible, almost no one acted decisively. This is not because the risks were invisible. It's because stopping a financial machine once it's in motion is far harder than starting it. Modern financial systems are built on momentum. Growth depends on participation. Markets reward optimism. Institutions are incentivized to expand, not restrain. The moment someone chooses caution, they risk being left behind, or worse, replaced. This creates a dangerous imbalance. Those who benefit most from the system as it exists have the least incentive to slow it down. Those who see the danger most clearly often lack the power to intervene. And those tasked with oversight are trapped between economic reality and political consequence. As long as markets are rising, restraint feels irrational. This is how risk becomes systemic. Warnings are dismissed as theoretical. Stress tests assume orderly conditions. Models rely on historical data that cannot account for unprecedented behavior. Each safeguard depends on assumptions that quietly break down under pressure. The system convinces itself it is safe, not because it truly is, but because acknowledging danger would require sacrifice. Slower growth, lower profits, political backlash, market corrections. No institution wants to be the first to apply the brakes, so everyone waits. This waiting creates fragility, because the longer excess builds, the more painful correction becomes. By the time intervention feels justified, it is often too late to act gently. The system no longer needs adjustment, it needs rescue. This is when authorities step in. Emergency powers are used, liquidity is injected, guarantees are issued. Markets stabilize, not because problems are solved, but because panic is delayed. Each intervention buys time, but also deepens dependence. Participants learn a lesson. Risk is manageable. Losses are socialized. The system will not be allowed to fail. This belief becomes embedded. Over time, restraint looks unnecessary. Caution looks outdated. The idea of stopping excess before it becomes dangerous feels unrealistic in a world addicted to growth. This is the paradox of financial stability. The more successful the system appears, the harder it becomes to control. The more confident participants feel, the more fragile the structure grows. Stability itself becomes the justification for risk. And when collapse finally arrives, the same question returns. Why did no one stop it? The answer is uncomfortable, because stopping it would have required choosing long-term stability over short-term reward. It would have required political courage, institutional humility, economic pain without immediate crisis to justify it. It would have required acting when things still looked fine. History shows how rare that is. Most systems are not corrected at their peak. They are corrected only after failure exposes their limits. Oversight strengthens after damage. Rules tighten after collapse. Memory replaces foresight. And even then, the lessons fade. As time passes, fear diminishes. New participants enter the system. Old constraints feel unnecessary. Innovation demands freedom. Markets push boundaries again. The cycle restarts. This is why financial crises are not accidents. They are consequences of structure, incentives, and human behavior aligned in the same direction for too long. Stopping the system requires more than awareness. It requires the willingness to act before certainty exists. And that may be the hardest decision finance ever demands. And that unwillingness to act early is not a failure of intelligence. It is a failure of alignment. In modern finance, knowledge is rarely the problem. Data is abundant. Models are sophisticated. Warnings are often present long before crises unfold. What's missing is not information, but incentive. The system rewards those who move with the crowd, not those who resist it. For regulators, acting too early risks being blamed for slowing growth. For politicians, restraint risks voter backlash. For institutions, caution risks underperformance. For investors, sitting out a boom risks irrelevance. Everyone sees the cliff. Everyone assumes someone else will slow down. This creates a collective action problem where inaction feels rational even when danger is obvious. And when pressure finally forces intervention, it is rarely subtle. By the time authorities step in, markets are already fragile. Liquidity is strained. Confidence is thin. Small moves trigger large reactions. What could have been a gradual adjustment becomes an emergency response. This is how soft landings turn into hard resets. The irony is that many of the tools used to stabilize crises also plant the seeds for the next one. Liquidity injections calm markets, but they also inflate asset prices. Guarantees prevent panic, but they encourage risk-taking. Bailouts preserve institutions, but they weaken accountability. Each rescue solves an immediate problem while quietly shifting risk forward in time. Over decades, this creates a system dependent on intervention. Markets no longer price risk independently. They price policy. They react less to fundamentals and more to expectations of support. Stability becomes conditional, and conditional stability is fragile. Because when the system relies on confidence in intervention rather than confidence in value, any doubt about that support becomes destabilizing. A delayed response, a political disagreement, a credibility gap. Suddenly, the assumption of safety weakens. This is when volatility returns with force. At that point, stopping the system is no longer an option. The only choices left are containment and damage control. Losses are absorbed unevenly. Trust erodes further. The cycle advances. What history makes clear is that financial systems do not fail because people are unaware of risk. They fail because risk becomes normalized, because danger feels manageable, because success dulls caution. The hardest moment to act is when everything still appears to be working. That is the moment restraint matters most, and the moment it is least likely to occur. This is not pessimism. It is pattern recognition. Until incentives change, until long-term stability is rewarded more than short-term gain, the question will keep returning after every collapse. Why did no one stop it? And the answer will remain the same. Because stopping it meant going against the system itself. Welcome to Cash and Chronicles, where money, power, and history collide.